I saw a question, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of a two-part question.
It's sneaking in two questions, but yes, go ahead. Yes, yes.
Well, one, building on your
Yes.
wonderful observation that you have, strong support in rural areas. My great concern is Western Iowa and a
Yes.
representative whose name I won't even take in my mouth. And the other question is that I believe we are unfortunately in the stranglehold of corporate agribusiness in this state. Certainly the regions, and certainly, any environmental efforts, including water quality, and hiring the president who's currently at Iowa State are a consequence of this. So anything you want to say about
Is that part one?
That's it.
No, it's a great question. I will tell you, I've been very encouraged by what I've seen in Western Iowa, particularly Southwest Iowa. I think it's a huge opportunity for Democrats coming up. We did an event in Corning. I don't know, anybody know Corning? It's in Adams County, the smallest county by population in the whole state. Pretty red county. We did a Friday noon question and answer event at the public library. We had 20 people show up in Corning. I was floored that we had that turnout for a midday weekday event. But people are concerned because as you look around, particularly in Southwest Iowa, you can see people have been abandoned by this administration. You look in Southwest Iowa in particular, you've got a factory in Creston that was shut down that had 200 union scale jobs that are gone. You saw the closure of the Mental Health Institute in Clarinda, not only missing out on those mental health services, but also the employment that came with that. You've seen 2 schools consolidated in Fremont County. And when you look around, you can see this administration has abandoned those rural communities, and they're struggling as a result. Senator Kenny mentioned my work on a couple of high-profile cases against this administration. I was proud to stand up to them when they shut down the Clarinda and Mount Pleasant mental health institutes. At a time when we all understand the threats to health care in our state, this administration has privatized Medicaid, created a mess in rural Iowa, in particular hospitals and clinics and access to services as people navigate a system that has not worked for patients, it has not worked for providers, it doesn't even work for the managed care organizations because we can't keep them involved at this point. It's failing everyone. When you shut down 2 of our state's 4 mental health facilities and do nothing to replace the lost services, that affects the rest of the mental health system. It means people are interacting with law enforcement as frontline providers of mental health care because there's no adequate space for chronic care management and symptom. Those are serious problems that are facing rural Iowa. And rural Iowans. And urban. And that's what I mean when I say shared values. When we underfund mental health, when we underfund our healthcare system and our schools.
Well, that's just crazy.
It is. And I will tell you, it is not just a moral issue. And that's the problem that we've been having is if you won't support these things because morally it's reprehensible to abandon people with critical need for mental health and healthcare needs, it's economically irresponsible too. It's taking someone that could, with good quality community-based chronic symptom management, that could be a productive person in the community, a tax-paying citizen, contributor to the economy, and waiting for them to end up in a correctional facility that, by the way, is understaffed to get mental health services there. And now, not only are we paying for the mental health services, but we're paying for a definite sentence for that person to serve out. That is irresponsible, both morally and economically. So those are the things that we have to talk about, particularly in rural Iowa. Look around. This administration is not helping. You know who has helped? Democratic governors who've done things like Vision Iowa programs to invest in community improvement at the local level, a real solid partnership with state resources and local resources to address critical needs in the community. That's how we turn things around.
All right now.
Yeah.
The second half of the question was about agribusiness.
I like the follow-up. I think you guys are paired. Yes.
We're on the same page.
Well, I mean, agribusiness seems to have a stranglehold on policy, environmental, political in the regents in this country.
Yeah.
It's,
I was just talking about this at an event in Cedar Rapids. When we talk about natural resource management, and agricultural policy, and sustainable agricultural practices, these didn't used to be Democrat versus Republican values. I remember Jim Leach wrote an op-ed. It was an Iowa View essay. I want to say it was while he was still in Congress, about conservatism and conservation and how the two things go together. And yet we've seen that fall so far away from any conservative value in this state. What's that?
It's money.
Yes, well, it's a big part of it. But when we look at things like my wife Andrea, I'm very, very proud of the work that she does. She's the statewide trails director for the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation. When we think about the economic opportunity, the money that can come with actually promoting and enjoying our natural resources, we've got a great network of trails across our state. Think about the opportunity that comes from having Iowans come to Iowa to enjoy our natural resources, to participate in water trails and biking trails and hiking trails, and how we squander that opportunity if somebody comes here and when they get to the public beach, they see a sign that says closed, toxic bacteria level.
Oh, God.
Right? They're not going to send their friends and neighbors to their next vacation in Iowa to enjoy natural resources. And again, I'm tired of hearing this as an urban versus rural fight. People in rural Iowa care about hunting and fishing opportunities and wildlife management. They care about topsoil runoff. My mom and stepdad live on a heritage farm outside of Columbus Junction. We talk to century and heritage farmers, families that have had those farms in their family for 100, 150 years. They're concerned about topsoil runoff for the future of agriculture in this state. It's bringing those coalitions together and making sure that people see this isn't urban versus rural. This is a fight that should be uniting people in our state to address water quality, land management, sustainable agricultural practices. We shouldn't be underfunding or completely defunding the Leopold Center. We should be enhancing the investment in sustainable agricultural practices. We should be talking about those things and ways to do that the right way. So I think that's an opportunity, again, for us to have credible, legitimate conversations with people in rural Iowa who are tired of seeing a very few number of Iowans control agricultural policy in this state. Other questions? Is there a second or third part of the question? Yeah. Well, we'll get a couple people in here.
So the first 3-4 months of this year were horrible. It's probably going to be rough the first 3 or 4 months of next year.
Yeah.
But the first 3 or 4 months of 2019, when you're governor, walk us through that vision. What are you going to do?
All right. Well, first, we're going to do everything we can, not only to deliver the governor's mansion, but to deliver the House and Senate too. Because that's how we have to do it. And I will tell you, there are great encouraging signs as we look to the last 2 special elections in very tough districts for Democrats. A special election in Fairfield with Phil Miller winning that race in a district that Donald Trump carried with by 20% of the vote. Phil Miller won that seat with 10% of the vote. A 30-point swing in a rural southeast Iowa district. My campaign, I went down there 2 days and door knocked with and for Phil Miller. My campaign spent 3 days there working that election because we need people like Phil Miller winning those seats. We went up into northwest Iowa, where we had Todd Wett running in a very difficult state Senate campaign, where he outperformed the last candidate, again, by 30%. The opportunity is there. The movement is building, and we have to make sure we are supporting great candidates that we have recruited in House and Senate races. I am very excited about the people that we have stepping forward. So that's step one, is to make sure that we don't just focus on one race, but we make sure we are delivering a House and Senate to get an agenda through. But I will tell you, if we don't deliver, and if we have a divided government, I think some experience is going to matter in being able to push through an agenda. And I think my legislative experience is going to come in to play there. To be able to talk to senators and representatives that I'm not meeting for the first time as I'm trying to push through a piece of legislation for my agenda, but actually using those relationships and understanding those relationships to get some things done. When we talk about opportunities to reverse course, a lot of them is going to require legislative help. and that's going to be a key part to do it.